Hey, Lee, how you doing?
I'm good, Casey. How are you, my friend?
I'm good. I'm looking forward to doing this again.
It's fun. I enjoy it. Let's do it.
Yeah. Well, so let's just dive right in. We've got a bunch of questions. We've got things that people have asked that have searched on the internet. We've got some topics that are the highest searches for things that we do. And so we want to kind of cover that. So we've got a list of questions. Let's just dive right in.
So first question for you, Casey, I'll throw it at you. What are the best Medicare Advantage plans in Idaho?
You know, that is a great question. And we get that question asked directly and indirectly. You probably get this. People will say at the end of a meeting, hey, listen, I have to ask you one more question. If I was your mother or he was your father, what would you put this on?
Yep.
I get that all the time. And so it's a fair question. The answer I'm going to give you is it depends. It depends on a lot of factors. It depends on what is best for you. There are a lot of great plans in a lot of counties, and we're going to talk about where Medicare Advantage plans are available later on. But Medicare Advantage plans are really specific to your needs. The nice thing is the government, in this case, has oversight on Medicare Advantage plans. And so there are certain rules that every insurance company has to follow that makes it kind of equal. Now, there are plans that really stand out, both in premium, in benefit, in your total risk. But to say what's the very best Medicare Advantage plan across the state, I wouldn't say that. It's really specific to you. And one of the things that leads us is, what prescriptions are you on? Who are your doctors? Who are the doctors you want to see? Where are the specialists? Are you a person who says, hey, I'm going to spend 6 months a year in this state and 6 months in Idaho? That's going to really determine the plan that you're on too. So I would say my answer is it depends. And that's not me being cagey. That's saying let's find what's specifically best for you.
Absolutely. Different insurance companies will shine in different areas of their plan. Some of it might be network strength. Some of it might be the prescription drug list that they cover. Some are the extra benefits like the dental and vision. So it's really, I agree 100%. It's what's important to you. It's not a one size fits all. Medicare heavily regulates a lot of what we do and how we do it. We're actually not allowed to say, not that we would anyway, but they really frown upon us using the word best because there is no best.
Yeah.
It's, well, here's 5 good options. Let's narrow it down based on your specific needs and situation. And then this is the one that makes sense for you. And again, what's great is we've talked about in the past, it's not a lifetime decision that you're making,
No.
right? Plans change every year, which we're going to talk about more here in a few minutes, but we take it 1 year at a time. What's based on your needs and your situation? What are you needing right now? Check, check, check. This one makes the most sense for you. Perfect. Let's roll with it for this year and then reassess next year and go from there. So I agree 100%. It changes company to company, person to person, year to year.
County by county.
County by county. So all the more reason why it is critical in our very biased opinions, but the reality is there's a lot of value that a local independent broker can bring because we don't have any loyalty to any one insurance company. Our loyalty is to our clients to say, hey, based on those needs that we've just gone over, here's some really viable options that you should consider. Let's help you understand it and know how to get the most out of it and then take it from there.
Well, and here's the other thing that I want to point out. You bring up a great point. We get people that call us all the time and say, hey, I talked to XYZ off the TV. I saw this ad, I had this flyer that came to me, and I talked to this person. And they may have been somewhere in Indiana, they may be somewhere in India, you never know. But one of the things that people need to understand when it comes to Medicare Advantage plans, prescription drug coverage, those companies that are typically outside of the state, these large telesales, telemarketers, will not be able to offer every plan available to you. They can't. And I can say that with confidence. I can say that with 100% honesty,
yes,
because we know the insurance companies very well that are out of Idaho. Some of the regional insurance companies that are based out of Idaho and based out of Oregon, they will not contract with those telemarketing centers. So they'll call you and say, hey, we offer all the plans available in the area. That's a lie. They do not. They can only offer national organizations, for-profit companies. They do not offer the local companies that sometimes are some of the better fits for people. And so, again, when you say what's the best Medicare, the question is what's the best Medicare Advantage plan? Well, it's the one that's best for you. That's the best one. And we're going to make that recommendation. We're going to be bold. And sometimes we have people say, well, what about this one? My best friend's barber's, groomer's dog, walker said that I should do this plan. Okay, well, let's talk about what was best for them when we meet with them. But we're going to tell you what we think is best for you when we meet with you.
Agree. Absolutely agree. Yes. I love when people say, well, my sister in Oklahoma has, okay, well, that's a very different situation. Her situation is different and different plans from county to county and state to state. And just to echo again what you said, I agree. Those telemarketing agencies, they are very biased because they can only push one or two policies.
Yeah.
And so they might tell you, oh, I've got all the options available to you. Well, no, they're very incentivized to sell very specific things. Where we have to have face-to-face conversations with our clients. We're a little more accountable to them. And we want to say, here's all the options. We don't care which policy you're on. We just want you to be a happy client. So we're going to do the best we can to put you on the right policy for you in that given year. And that makes it really easy for us. There's no pressure. There's no sales. It's just, hey, let's be a consultant. Let's help you understand what's what and take it from there.
Yeah, the government forces people to do stuff. We don't. There are timelines, deadlines. There are specific things that the government forces you to do, and we're going to guide you in that, but we're not going to pressure you. We're going to lay out the options. We're going to have an opinion. That's why you come to an expert.
Right.
That's why you come to somebody who does this for a living and has 30 years plus in our office of experience. But it's going to be what's best for you.
So let me ask you this, Casey. Why is it, very common question we get, why is it that it's different from county to county and state to state as far as which Medicare options are available?
This can get into some really geeky insurance agent talk, so I'm going to try not to go there because, I could turn into an insurance geek. But a lot of it has to do with reimbursement. So the government pays or reimburses the insurance companies every month that you're on the plan. And those reimbursements are different county by county. I'll give you a quick example. We were sitting with a large regional insurance company a few weeks ago, and they were complaining, rightly so, that the reimbursement rates for plans in Southeast Idaho were drastically different than the reimbursement rates for other parts of the state, like Treasure Valley or Northern Idaho. And it was drastically affecting their ability to offer a really good plan. Now, they've done a great job, and they've really tightened up their boots and their belt straps to do it, but or the buckles to do it. So here's the thing, that they're different county by county because of the reimbursement rate. They're different because of the population, and they're different because of the enrollment. And they're different because of the number of providers and hospitals that they can contract with. So if you go to a rural county, let's say, years past, there might have been a plan there, but then Medicare decided to change the reimbursement rate, or they changed some of the restrictions on there has to be a certain number of providers or a certain number of hospitals in that county. Well, the insurance company, and I'm not pleading for them, they're doing fine, but they said, we can't be profitable. We can't meet all these stipulations, all these regulations, and our profitability isn't there to offer a plan in those counties. Now, some good news, and we'll talk about that in just a minute, that is changing. We're going to have 8 new rural counties in the state of Idaho alone that a national organization is going to go into with plans. And some of those counties have never had Medicare Advantage plans. But that's a brand new thing in 2025 we haven't seen for years. And so the answer to that question is it's different county by county because of population, reimbursement rates, the number of providers and hospitals, and the population.
Absolutely right. Yeah. General terms, the way I've explained in the past is population really is a big, big driver. More providers, more reimbursement, whatnot, but large population. So if you've got a cousin or a mother down in Phoenix or Scottsdale or in Florida where there are millions of retirees, millions of people on Medicare, those plans have generally been extremely competitive. Very, very low premiums, very, very low co-payments, incredible extra benefits because the membership is so big, right? I mean, that's one way to go geeking out a little bit with insurance. I mean, it comes down to pool size sometimes, right? Whether you're on individual, whether it's auto insurance, whatever it is, the bigger the pool. So if you work for a large employer, you have a lot of employees, your insurance benefits are usually a little bit better, premiums a little lower. If you're a mom and pop shop that, only a few employees, the pool size is very small. Benefits are worse. Premiums are higher because of that. So yeah, in the rural counties, the options have not always been solid. As you said, that can change, but it varies quite a bit. So it's not always just like plans. There's not one best plan. It varies from county to county all the time. So it's, again, important to shop around, know what's what, not make assumptions, do some research, talk to someone that knows the state, knows the counties, know the different plans, to really get the most out of your Medicare options. Well,
and it concerns me and excites me at the same time. Some of these rural counties are getting plans. I remember a couple years ago, there's a really small county in in kind of southeast Idaho, that got a new plan. They went gangbusters with advertising. A whole bunch of agents from all over the country advertised, and it came time for enrollment period. They waited to tell us who was in the plan, which was really frustrating, until right before the plan enrollment period launched. And we went to do lookups for the hospital, and the hospital in that county wasn't even in the network. That there was a very, very small number of doctors and specialists that were in the network. So they had this pretty decent plan for the first time ever, and everybody started, getting excited about it. And then you start doing research. Now, we don't think that's going to be the case this coming year because we've seen the plan a little earlier. But again, it goes back to, you got to have somebody that you trust that knows this stuff. Just seeing a zero premium plan with a bunch of dental and a bunch of this and a bunch of that is not the answer. You've got to check and make sure your prescriptions are on there. You've got to check and see if the hospital you want to go to and your primary care doctor and your dentist, those things are very important. So I think you said it in the last podcast. I know you did. Shiny objects. Yeah. Stay away from the shiny object. Doesn't mean you shouldn't investigate. Doesn't mean you shouldn't call us and let us look at it with you. But don't just assume that somebody on the phone that calls you to push a plan, or you see some TV ad with some former football star, that you should just pick up the phone and call that and just enroll without doing an investigation.
Who are you talking about? What do you mean?
Yeah. So call us and let us do the research with you.
Yep. Love it. Very good. Ask me a question. Anything you want. Go for it.
How do you apply for Medicare, Lee?
How do you apply for Medicare? So, as per the norm, it depends a little bit, right? So, a couple things. If someone is receiving Social Security before they turn 65 years old, then you are automatically enrolled into Medicare. Okay. So Social Security Administration is the one that initially enrolls you into Medicare. And if they already have you on the records, right, as far as receiving Social Security prior to you being 65, then they assume you probably want Medicare. Now, if for some reason you don't, you can opt out of that. You're not locked into that, but the majority of the time it's a fitting decision that they say, yes, that they probably need Medicare. So you're automatically enrolled into that. Usually about 3 months before that Medicare effective date, which is the first day of the month you turn 65. You get that Medicare card about 3 months prior to that. And then at that point, that's when you sit down with a broker like us to say, okay, now what are my options? Let's compare Medicare Advantage, Medicare Supplement, whatever else, prescription drug coverage and whatnot. So if you are receiving Social Security, that's pretty easy. You sit back and wait for a Medicare card. Okay. Now, very common is people working past 65, perhaps staying on an employer group plan or whatnot, not needing to get on Medicare, or not sure if they should get on Medicare. That's if you're not receiving Social Security because you're still working, then you're not automatically enrolled into Medicare at 65. But again, that's a good time to sit down with a broker. Very common question we get that I think we've talked about previously. Well, what if I have employer coverage? Well, let's compare. Again, don't assume, because in the past, it's been a pretty accurate assumption that group coverage is kind of the end all be all. And if you can keep it, do it for as long as you can. As we've talked about, that is no longer the case. Hasn't been for the last few years in particular, where because Medicare plans have gotten so competitive and rich in benefits, even people that work for large employers are saying, well, boy, if I can lower my premium, lower my medical costs, remove a deductible, and get more dental than I'm getting at my large employer, why would I not do that?
Yeah.
Right. So it's important to not make that assumption and to get educated on those things. But at that point, if you're wanting to enroll into Medicare, past 65, if someone does work and it makes sense not to get on Medicare at 65, then again, you would go to the Social Security Administration. You can do it online. The Social Security office happens to be right next to one of our offices in Idaho Falls specifically. So we can walk you over there. We can help you do it online. It's pretty straightforward most of the time. But you just notify them that you want Medicare as of, whenever you're retiring or whatever the case might be. You get a Medicare card, and then you're ready to rock to again. Come and talk to us and say, let's make sure that you're getting the most out of your Medicare. Because as we've talked about previously, Medicare is not fantastic by itself. Plenty of gaps in coverage, and that's frankly why the Medicare supplements and Advantage plans exist, because Medicare by itself is not great. So depending on your situation, you can get on Medicare before 65 as well. If you've been on Social Security disability for 24 months, you're actually automatically enrolled into Medicare at that point. So we see that sometimes as well, but those a few different scenarios that we see quite commonly as far as enrolling into Medicare.
And one of the things I think is important to point out is people get confused because we're talking about Social Security when we're asked how to enroll in Medicare. You enroll in Medicare through Social Security. I don't know why.
Right.
I'm sure there's some law back in the 60s that stipulated that, even though Medicare started with the Railroad Retirement Board, there's all kinds of, geeky insurance stuff, but you enroll in Medicare through Social Security. Again, back to your point, either at the Social Security office that's nearest you or ssa.gov. And that's a little hint here. ssa.gov. Do not put in ssa.com because you'll be giving your personal information to a company that collects information and sells it to insurance agents all over the world, I'm assuming, and you will be inundated even more so than you already are with phone calls, emails, texts, knocks at your door. So
same thing with Medicare.com.
Exactly.
Don't go to Medicare.com, go to Medicare.gov. Absolutely.
Always .gov. All right. Good answer. All right. What is the difference between Medicare and Medicaid?
So Medicare is a federal program. Medicaid is generally administered by a state, first of all. Medicare, if you have received a paycheck, you've paid Medicare taxes, right? And eventually when you get on Medicare, whether it's 65 or after or earlier due to disability, that's a federal program that helps pay for your insurance. And then again, you talk to us and help understand how you improve that. Medicaid, there can be some federal funding there, but for the most part, it's administered by a state specifically. So we're here in Idaho. The state of Idaho administrates Medicaid here. Medicaid, there's different types of Medicaid, different levels of Medicaid and benefits. For the most part, it's usually mostly based on income specifically. So it's not based on age, it's based on income and assets or ability to make a living. So there are, young families on Medicaid. There are senior citizens, retirees on Medicaid. It can vary quite a bit, but it's not necessarily based on you paying taxes for so long and being eligible for a benefit later on in life. And a very common question we get a lot is, well, can you have both? And the answer is yes, absolutely, right? So if you qualified for Medicare for paying those payroll taxes and turning 65 or getting on Medicare early, and your income is below a certain threshold dictated by that state, then absolutely you can qualify for both. And they can work together to make sure that you have even more protection, more benefits. There are actually plans through insurance companies specifically designed for those who have both Medicare and Medicaid to kind of help bring that together, simplify things a little bit, and then again, improve the benefits compared to just Medicare and Medicaid. Some people assume, well, if I've got both, that's all I need, right?
Right.
Well, that's pretty good, but what if we can do even better? And most of the time for no additional cost, you can get additional benefits above and beyond what the federal program and the state program gives you. Very popular option lately. We've been doing a lot of those specific plans for those who have both Medicare and Medicaid.
So this is a great plan. We meet people, and like you said, we've been helping a lot of people lately. If you have a family member that is on Medicaid and has Medicare, you should be looking at those plans. They are fantastic plans. They give all kinds of benefits, additional things that are not covered by normal insurance company or normal Medicaid and Medicare, but they're specific to your Medicaid level of assistance. The other thing to keep in mind is those are the type of things you're getting called on, and you're seeing TV ads where they're offering grocery benefit and all these extra benefits that are unbelievable, but they are specific to a few things. One, your Medicaid status. Just because you have Medicaid and Medicare doesn't mean you're eligible for these, what we call dual special needs plans or DSNPs. You have to have a full Medicare and you have to have a full type of Medicaid, very specific. And in Idaho, you have to also have a health condition. And to meet those needs and to get those extra benefits, you have to meet those criteria. But you got to be careful because you'll see advertisements say, call us today to get $2,400 a year back on your Medicare. Call us today to get grocery benefit or get a debit card that will give you this, that, or the other. Those plans exist in specific counties in specific situations. So again, give us a call. And the other thing I want to point out, there is a difference between being under 65 and not on Medicare and on state Medicaid and Medicaid. So we'll have people call up and say, well, I have Medicaid, but I don't have Medicare. Why can't I get on these plans? Because you have to have Medicare and Medicaid. So if I'm a family of 4 or 5 and I've been on Medicaid through the state of Idaho, and more people got that status because they expanded who can qualify for Medicaid and not on Medicare. But just because you have Medicaid and then now you turn 65 doesn't guarantee that you're going to have Medicaid when you turn 65 and become eligible for Medicare.
I agree. I want to go a little bit deeper into one part of what you just mentioned, because a common question we get is, well, how can some of these plans offer to give me money back? Right. Well, on those specific plans, those that have Medicare and Medicaid, again, as you mentioned, the federal government reimburses for those plans. Well, if they've got Medicaid as well, then the state is reimbursing that as well. The insurance company doesn't just get to profit all that and keep all that money. It has to go back to you as the member of that plan. And so as that, often the state will pay your Part B Medicare premium, which you've talked about previously, but as of right now, it's about $175 a month. The state can pay that for people. So the way those advertisers can say, hey, you can get $2,000 more a year back on your Social Security, they're not just giving you money. It's the state is paying part of your Medicare premiums for you, but they make it sound like they're just giving money away and giving benefits away and whatever else.
You'll see your Social Security check go up a little bit, but it's not like you're getting a check in the mail. It's
correct.
Not, and I think that's a great point. I'm glad you clarified that, because people are like, oh, I'm going to get a $175 check. No, you're going to see a higher deposit into your checking account, but that's how it's happening. Yeah, great point.
All right, what else have we got here? People are asking us. Let's define a Medigap plan. What the heck is a Medigap plan?
So first of all, Medigap and Medicare supplement are the exact same thing. So they're called Medigap plans for a specific reason. They're called Medicare supplements for specific reasons, but it's the same reason, okay? So Medicare has what we call gaps or holes in their coverage. A simple one is if you had Medicare alone and nothing else, no other health insurance, and you went to the hospital, you have about a $1,600 deductible. So if I'm going into a hospital, non-emergency, I'm going to have open heart surgery, because that's what came to my mind, right? And I'm in the hospital for 5 or 6 days, the Part A coverage has about a $1,600 deductible, whether I'm there 1 day or 59 days. Okay. That's a gap in coverage. I'd have to come out of my pocket for over $1,600 just for that deductible. Then I have to worry about the Part B deductible and the Part B 20%. So those 3 things, the Part A deductible, the Part B deductible, and the 20% coinsurance that comes from medical expenses, those are the gaps in Medicare coverage. So there's plans specifically to fill those gaps. They're called Medigap or Medicare supplement plans. Medicare is going to be your primary insurance. A private insurance company, there's dozens of them in every state. But anyway, let's just call it Jones Insurance, is going to step behind your Medicare coverage and fill in most of those gaps for you. You're going to pay them a monthly premium to fill the gap. That's why they're called Medigap or Medicare supplement plans.
Perfect. And they're great at what they're designed to do, which is to fill those specific gaps you just mentioned. But they do not go above and beyond that. They don't expand your Medicare coverage, meaning Medicare by itself does not cover prescription drugs. It's known as Part D prescription drug coverage. That Medigap or Medicare supplement does not all of a sudden fill that hole for you. You still have to find another solution to get that prescription drug coverage. Similar to if you're wanting, vision and dental, very common need or a request that we get from people, that Medicare supplement will help pay those deductibles and the coinsurance, but not going to do anything for a crown or a filling or a new pair of glasses, right? So there are plenty of gaps in coverage. Those supplements are phenomenal at what they do specifically, but again, there's still some limitations with them.
Yeah.
Now they can pay almost all your medical costs, which are phenomenal if that's what you need and that's what, the premium is worth it for you. But still, part of putting that puzzle together is finding a prescription drug plan that goes along with that. So in which case you've got a Medicare as your primary, A and B is your primary, a Medigap as your secondary, and then a third prescription drug plan or PDP to make sure your prescriptions are covered. And then if you want dental, vision, whatever else, that's a fourth policy. That's a great option for a lot of people because your coverage is phenomenal. Another question is we're explaining a Medicare supplement is, well, how does that differ from a Medicare Advantage plan, right? A Medicare Advantage plan, again, is subsidized or reimbursed by the federal government. But what happens in reality is Medicare says, hey, insurance company, you're already in the business of paying claims. networking with doctors, doing customer service and whatever else, managing all of this. So why don't we just pay you to manage all of Casey's health insurance? And in that case, rather than having 3 or 4 different policies, that condenses that to normally just 1 or 2 policies, depending on exactly what you're needing. So for some people, if I find it a little simpler, rather than managing 4 different policies, maybe 1, maybe 2, depending on what exactly you've got going. But in that case, because Medicare is paying that insurance company to manage your benefits, as an example, generally speaking, the premiums come down compared to the Medigap or the Medicare supplement policy plus a drug plan and whatnot.
Plus, you're getting
as well.
those extra benefits baked into it. They come with the dental, they come with the vision, they come with a gym membership, the travel benefit. There's a lot of benefits that come with those Advantage plans. I use my mom and dad as an example. I'm their agent. Of course,
What?
right? Yeah. So my mom has a supplement with a prescription drug plan. My dad has an Advantage plan. They're different reasons. They're specific to them, but they're a great example of, we look at exactly what they need and we specifically suggest what they need. One of the things about a supplement plan or Medigap plan is you can see any provider anywhere in the United States that takes Medicare. There is no list. There is no network. Medicare does not require referrals. And so some people like that. We have a lot of clients that are RVers. They're going around the country in their RV. They might snowbird. And so some of those clients will take a Medicare supplement. But just because you do those activities, you're a snowbird or you're a traveler around the state, doesn't mean you have to take a Medicare supplement. We've got plenty of clients that have Medicare Advantage plans. And those Medicare Advantage plans have worldwide emergency room coverage, so in the States and out of the States, worldwide emergency room coverage, worldwide walk-in clinics, stateside walk-in clinics. So there's, again, with Medicare, one of the things that keeps us employed, right, is that there's just so many different options and so many different, things we want to pay attention to. And a Medigap or Medicare supplement might be the better fit for you, and your friend or your spouse or your brother, a Medicare Advantage plan might be a better fit.
One of my favorite questions always brings a smile to my face when someone comes into my office and says, well, my sister said that a Medicare supplement is garbage.
Right.
Or a Medicare Advantage plan is the worst thing I could possibly do. Avoid it at all costs.
Yeah.
Okay, let's break it down. Again, there's no one size fits all. So let's make sure you've got accurate information. 5, even 10 years ago, there were some more issues with some of the plans. These companies have really strengthened some of those things, those pain points, gotten rid of most of them to make it very, very user-friendly. And so when someone comes in and says that, I know I need to do this because X, Y, and Z, well, tell me what you've heard so I can kind of make sure you've got accurate information.
I have to use their doctors.
Right. Yeah, well, when 99% of the doctors are their doctors, that's pretty doable, right?
Yeah, every hospital in the state.
Yeah, that's pretty doable, right? Yeah. So let's go through and break that down. I love seeing the barriers come down, the tension going down. Like, oh, that does sound like a decent option for me. So, again, don't assume. I'm sure your sister in Oklahoma or your best friend in Wisconsin or whatever, they have good intentions, but they're not necessarily an expert in the field of Medicare, and they don't know necessarily what's happening here in your local market, where, again, plans can differ county to county, state to state, and person to person as far as needs go. So I love when people say that, but again, they're both good options.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite responses when people say, well, which one's better, a supplement or an Advantage plan? They're both great. I wish I could get either one.
Yeah.
I'm on Obamacare for another 20 years, right? I wish I could get either one because they're frankly both better than Obamacare for most people.
Oh, way less expensive.
Right? Way less expensive. Anyway, we won't go there. But they're both great options. It just depends on what your needs are. So again, meeting with someone that says, let's just look at your needs. We're not going to push anything on you. We're not going to tell you this one's garbage and this one's perfect. They both have pros and cons. Let's weigh that. Right? Let's use some common sense, some knowledge, and make you comfortable and confident with what you're doing. I love people leaving with that sense of relief and confidence. Like, this Medicare's been scaring the crap out of me for the last 6 months, and it's really not that bad. No, let's simplify it and make it work for you.
We ran an ad for a while, and you would say, I'm so grateful to come to you. The half an hour, 45 minutes I spent with you, I learned more, had more experience, and felt more confident than the hours and hours of research I did. And I was on this website and on that website, and I gave my information to this agent, and now I got 50 calls a week. It sounds self-serving, and there's no other way I can say this, but we've helped tens of thousands of people in our agency, and that's not an exaggeration.
100%.
We have about 8,000 people we serve on a monthly basis right now.
Actively.
But over our careers, between the two of us, 30 years, and then we've got 5 agents with another 10 or 15 years in there, tens of thousands. That's not a brag. That's just the case. When you would hope, when you have somebody who's done that over and over and over again and seen scenario after scenario, they're going to be able to know the ins and outs. And that's what we offer. Come in and we're going to look at both a supplement and an advantage plan and a prescription drug plan. We're going to say that might seem like the best option, but let me tell you why, because I know this about the plan that you'll never find anywhere else. You won't be able to find it in their documentation. You won't be able to find it in talking to your best friend. This is what our exact experience was. I remember there was a plan that said, hey, you can see with our HMO plan, any doctor in our network anywhere in the country. And we were like, fantastic. I mean, even the reps from the company came and told us this. We didn't have that experience in the next year, right? So now we have that, and we can tell people, hey, that might say that on paper. They might be able to say that in advertisement, but here's our actual real world experience.
Love it. So another very common question we get that this leads into perfectly is, what do you as Medicare consultants or brokers do? And that's kind of what we've been talking about for the last 5 or 10 minutes is we just break down your options, what you're eligible for, what's available in your local market, whether that's here in Idaho or we're licensed in 9 or 10 different states. But we break that down and give you the confidence to make a good decision, take out the fear, take out the pressure, take out the, feeling nervous about it. And just here's how it works. Most of the time, it's a good news review.
Yeah.
Right? Most of the time, it's, hey, guess what? Good news is your benefits are now going to be better than you've had for the last 20 years working for that big company. Meaning, again, lower premiums in either scenario, Medicare supplement or Medicare Advantage, which is why they're both great options. Again, right?
Lower, no deductible.
Exactly. All these different things. So to be able to say, hey, this is good news. This is not a big scary thing. It shouldn't be. If you're scared about Medicare, you're talking to the wrong person.
Good point.
Right? If you're talking to someone on the phone and you're not 100% confident and clear and sure about what you're doing, hang up the dang phone. Right? If someone comes and knocks on your door and says they need to talk to you about your Medicare stuff, tell them to get the heck off your property because first of all, that is illegal. They cannot do that. Okay? And we don't do that, to be clear. Okay? We come to your home by invitation if you would like, but we don't show up on your door unannounced and knock and say, we need to talk about Medicare. If they do, slam your door in their face. But what we do as local, licensed, certified brokers is make things make sense, give you peace of mind, and then help you throughout the process, not only initially, but for the rest of your retirement years. Right? Again, some of these telemarketing centers that are pushing 1 or 2 policies, they want to get the deal done and then never talk to you again. That's their goal.
Not only do they not want to talk to you, but they actually sell your policy to some other company most times.
Correct.
So it's not even inside their company anymore. Not only would you never talk to that person again, most likely that called you on the phone or you called and spoke to from a TV ad, they normally sell that policy to another entity that doesn't even inside their company.
It is 100% transactional.
Yep.
That is a relationship, transactional, where ours is a relationship. We don't want you on the books for 1 month or 1 year, right? The way that we grow as a business and impact more people is to keep you a happy client for the next 20 years, right? These commissions are not huge. We earn a commission. Absolutely. We don't hide that at all.
No.
Okay. Which, by the way, we get paid roughly the same commission no matter what plan we put you on. So again, another reason we don't have bias, right? But the best way for us to make a good living and help other agents make a good living is to take care of people long-term so that you stay a client for the next 15, 20 years. And that takes us doing the right thing by you over and over and over again. Not just, hey, get on this plan. Trust me, it's the best thing for you. It's let's really make this work because when you have headaches, guess who else has headaches? When you have issues, guess who else takes on those issues with you and for you? It's us. So that's a huge, huge difference as far as using the questions of Medicare consultant, but a broker that understands and has the experience that you pointed out and the motivation to do what is right by you consistently rather than just a once and you're done, move on.
As a consultant, what do I owe you? Let's say me and my wife are getting ready to retire and it's time for us to go into Medicare. What do I pay you as a consultant?
Great question. Nothing. You will never receive a bill from us as brokers. There's no invoice We don't take tips, nothing. Okay. We get paid a commission again by insurance companies, but you will find one of the favorite compliments I get from people is they come and say, well, what do I owe you? Oh, nothing.
Yes.
Oh, but I didn't even sign up for anything today, right? Like, how are you going to get paid? You know what? It'll take care of itself. At some point, if I do right by you, do a good enough job explaining this to you, giving you the peace of mind and confidence I've just talked about, at some point, you're going to have a policy with us. And at some point, we're going to get a commission. I can wait for that if I need to. You're going to send your friends and family to us because we've given you that peace of mind that no one else will and can, frankly. So that's the way that we make a living and grow our agency as a business. It is a business, yes. But what's great is we can just take care of people. And people say, oh, here's the salesman. I remember some sweet old lady came in and said, here's the salesman. Well, yeah, I make a commission, but do you want this help? Do you want to understand your Medicare? Because I've been doing this for 15 years. I know this stuff pretty darn well. So yeah, I'll make a commission, but you can go do this on your own. As you pointed out, research this for hours and hours and hours, still be confused, and then come to me.
And the cost you're going to pay for your plan, no matter what plan you pick, it would be the exact same, whether you use us or not.
Great point. Yeah.
By you picking XYZ plan, you do not pay a higher commission by using us. By us taking care of all the documentation, all the paperwork, by us submitting everything and making sure your plan gets approved. And if there is any issue from the insurance company, being your advocate, being there to support you, being there to help you pick a plan every year during the enrollment period. When you get a phone call or piece of paper, I get this all the time. People call me in the middle of the year. Hey, I got this thing and it says I should be changing my plan. I'm like, well, it's July. You can't change your plan. Who told you that? Well, I got this piece of paper in the mail. Now, I guarantee if you did that with a national telemarketer, and you try to call that person you spoke to before and say, hey, I got this letter, what should I do? That person doesn't exist. You'd never talk to them again. So you don't pay any more by using us. And our services to you are no cost. We get paid by the insurance company, and the premium you pay, the cost you pay would be the exact same whether you use us or not.
And the insurance companies see the value in us as brokers, which is why they pay us a commission.
Yep.
Right. In fact, some insurance companies want all of their members to have a broker that they can reach out to, right? They see there's a huge value in an independent broker being able to make sense and help them and support them and ease that burden for the member as well as for the insurance company as well. So it's a great partnership.
We have one insurance company that we just did another. We've done this 3 or 4 times. We just sent 12 or 1,300 letters to clients on behalf of this insurance company to help them. They asked us to do it. Help us reach out to these members. They need help and they're not responding to us. How can you help us? So we sent a letter, then follow up with them, and we helped a bunch of people that didn't have an agent. So
yep, very good question. Next question, Mr. Peterson. Tell me about the Part D prescription drug coverage changes. There's some rumors out there. There's some buzz out there talking about medication coverages changing for 2025. What can you tell me?
Well, I can tell you it's the biggest changes we've seen in our careers. We talked to agents that have been doing it just a little bit longer than us. It's probably the biggest changes since 2006 when Medicare Part D prescription came out. So we can't go into great detail until after October 1st for a few reasons. One, the government doesn't allow us to. The Medicare asks us not to do that. And I think it's a good decision on their behalf. They don't want to confuse people until the enrollment period comes up. And if they let these telemarketing companies do whatever they want, then it'd be completely confusing. So I think that makes sense. So let me to give you the information we can share. Right now, every prescription drug plan, whether it's attached to your Medicare Advantage plan or a separate standalone prescription drug plan, has something called a maximum out-of-pocket, right? They have a limit to your spend. And it's changed over the years. This year, it's capped at a little over $8,000 that you could potentially spend. Now, I'm going to give you very generalized numbers because it's actually not $8,000, but that's the number that's printed. It could be less than that based on what you spend. But there's all these different, as you can imagine, when the government creates a system, it's very convoluted. But right now, that number is around $8,000. It's proposed, and it looks like it's going to happen for next year, that number will be capped at $2,000 or less. So to have, when we say the biggest changes ever, to go from a potential $8,000 if you're on some expensive drugs to $2,000, and the cost of that difference is going to be absorbed by the insurance companies, going to be absorbed by the government. You can imagine, if you start to kind of extrapolate that, what that's going to do. So there is potential that if you have a standalone prescription drug plan, this is a rumor, That's all this is right now. But they're saying the average standalone prescription drug plan is going to go to over $100 a month. Now, to put that in perspective, right now there's plans out there that are 50 cents a month. There are plans out there that are $30 a month. The average is around $40 a month.
Yeah.
To go from around an average of $40 to over $100 is a massive change. And if you think about being on a fixed income and you don't do your research and don't make a change and don't look at that, to have that kind of increase per person per month. On top of that, there's some things that have been part of the Inflation Reduction Act that the current administration put into effect a few years ago. There is a reduction in what you spend towards certain types of drugs. All of these things are going to go into effect January 1st. Now, again, it's the government, so there's some talk about funneling some money into the system to reduce those premiums down from $100. That hasn't been done yet. There's all kinds of things. But what we can tell you, there's also some, what you're going to hear of an M3P program. And this isn't something I can't talk about. It's out there. It's out there. You're going to hear it called smoothing. I hate that term.
Me too.
Basically, what you can potentially do if you meet the criteria and it's something you want to enroll in and you have to enroll, you can take the cost of your prescriptions and basically finance them over the year. Now, I'm using the word finance. I'm sure the government wouldn't love that term. But basically what you're going to do is you're going to enroll in that program with whatever insurance company you're in. It's not through the government. You'd have to enroll through the current insurance plan that you're on. And you're going to say, let's say you have a drug that's $500 a month cost. Okay. And I'm going to put a caveat really quick. What they're saying is that your yearly cost of drugs need to be over $600 for this to make any sense for you. But let's say you had a drug that's $500 a month. You can now in January get a hold of your insurance company or your insurance broker, your consultant, and say, hey, I want to enroll in the M3P program. And when you do that, what happens now is the insurance company is going to take your yearly cost for that drug and spread it over the year. And you'll be making a payment to the insurance company every month. You cannot have that payment come out of your Social Security, which is different than your prescription drug premiums. It has to come out of you sending them a check, you having it come out of a checking account automatic. There's going to be some ways to pay that. But there's really some components to this. Your total cost for the year are going to be capped at no more than $2,000 for covered drugs. And you can pay your your cost of drugs over the year. Our concern is lots of things. We sat in a meeting a few weeks ago with one of the pharmacists for a big insurance company. So this person was in charge of understanding this program. We had somebody in the room that was representing a national organization of insurance companies. And then we had about 10 agents and 7 or 8 bigwigs at an insurance company. And I can here to tell you that nobody understood this program the same. Not one of us. Everybody had a little bit different understanding. So it will be very confusing. So when you see us talk about this is the biggest changes that have ever happened in the last 15 years plus to Medicare, this is one of those main changes. It is going to be extremely confusing. Some people shouldn't be enrolling in that M3P program. It just doesn't make sense. Some people aren't going to qualify for some of those changes. It's just going to be... there's no polite word. It's going to be a cluster.
It's going to be a bit of a mess.
And you're going to have, I'm afraid of a few things. One of the things I'm afraid of is you're going to have some of these telemarketing organizations prey upon people and say, oh, you're not going to spend more than X, Y, Z. And oh, you can now finance your prescription costs every month. When you have somebody who's on a couple inexpensive drugs, they should not be looking at financing the cost of their drugs over the year. It doesn't make any sense.
Right. No, it can actually cost them more. I had the exact same thought. I'm glad you went there because I was going to say the exact same thing. It is going to be a bit of a mess for members, for the insurance companies to explain that clearly, and for pharmacies to understand what copays they collect and when and how, and if that smoothing has been implemented and whatnot. It's going to be an interesting year. Again, more reason than ever to have a broker that can help you navigate that.
Deductibles are going to go way up.
It's going to be interesting. Overall, the intent, from what we understand, is that your drug coverage, especially if you're on Eliquis and Xarelto and Ozempic, like more and more people are, that your costs overall will be better throughout the year. Lower overall expense, which is good. I am a realist, Casey. how is that paid for? Right?
Exactly.
What's going to be affected with that improvement in benefits and coverages on your prescription? So my guess, we've talked about this, my guess is that in the next year or two, we're going to see some ripple effects from this.
Oh, there's a hepatitis C drug that's $100,000 a month. Now, there's not very many people on it, but you kind of imagine if you have a county that has 5,000 or 6,000 people on a plan, and one or two of them are on a drug that's $100,000 a month. And now the insurance company is on the hook for even more of that cost than they were this year. Where do you think they're going to get that money from? They're going to reduce benefits. They're going to increase costs a lot of times. We've seen some of the plans, kind of a sneak peek. So there's nothing I'm going to give out because we don't know yet until after October 1st, nor can we talk about it. But we've seen drug deductibles go from $0 to potentially $400 or $500. So no deductible in 2024 and a $400 or $500 deductible in 2025 to try and eat up some of those costs. You're going to see probably those extra benefits degrade, go down in 2025 and 2026. Coincidentally, also, Medicare is giving a smaller amount of increase to the insurance companies per member per month in 2025 than they did in 2024. So now they have even less money to spend for the increased costs than what they assumed in the last few years. So it's a perfect storm of good intent, and I love that. I think there is a good intent there. We want our clients to spend less money. That's what keeps people happy, right? There's a good intent, but the ripple effect, the actual rubber that hits the road, I'm not sure it's going to be as good as what was intended. I know it's not going to be as good as what was intended.
There will be repercussions. We'll see premiums probably go up. Like I said, benefits degrade some. So again, work with a broker. It sounds like a broken record, but work with a broker that can give you the options year after year from multiple companies to really make things make sense for you based on the changes and what's going on.
Yeah.
So very, very important.
You see the government doing it. We also had that demonstration the government did. There's 10 drugs that they're starting to negotiate on Medicare, which is good. And they're going to expand that next year. What I get calls about that once. Well, the government's now negotiating for Medicare prescriptions. Well, they are, but keep in mind, those changes don't go into effect till 2026. So there's a lot of things happening in Medicare because how expensive it is for the federal budget.
Right.
And some of it's good, some of it's great, some of it we'll have to see.
Yeah. Interesting times, to say the least. As interesting as insurance can be, right? I mean, it's Medicare, folks. We're not taking this too seriously. We get it. But this has been fun.
Yeah.
As we continue to get more and more questions, people bring up more and more topics. We'll continue to address them as they come up. But we appreciate you spending some time with us. Hopefully this gave you some clarity on a few things. If we can help in any way, shape, or form, please reach out to us at any time. But for now, any final words?
Nope. Appreciate it.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.